This is an absolutely great video by a creator that goes by the AKA Mr. Globalist, Mr. Global. I had to do a reaction to it. It concerns Trump building ICE detainment centers, and this guy just does a great job nailing it down. So let's get into it.
So let me ask you something. Have you wondered yourself why we need all of these new massive sprawling ICE detention centers?
I actually have wondered why we need them, but I know.
We're going to talk about something a little concrete. Not a tweet or a headline. We're going to talk about infrastructure. We're going to talk about building power.
Be patient, be patient.
And what it means when a government decides it needs the ability to lock up tens and tens, maybe 100,000 people more at will. Because that's what Donald Trump is promising. A vast expansion of detention capacity. Bigger, tougher, more permanent machinery for rounding up and holding people. And to be very clear, this kind of machinery or infrastructure, this isn't just about border control. It's about who gets to live free in this country and who does not.
We used to call it the land of the free.
But this is not...
Can't be called that no more.
Speculation, right? He told us what he wants.
When you lock up more people than North Korea, Iran,
massive new detention
China,
facilities, and the power
Russia combined
to rapidly detain and deport millions. Now, most estimates say that we're looking at...
Why couldn't they deport American citizens if you've been convicted of a crime? See, if you go back and you read the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution, once you're convicted of what is referred to as an infamous crime, also known as a felony, you are subject to slavery. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's the truth. That's why you can put a guy in prison for committing a crime and tell him to tuck his shirt in, shut up, and sit down. Or you'll go to the hole, or to the box, or to the SHU, SHU. You can't tell a free man that. See, a free man's got rights, but see, once you get convicted of a crime, you lose a whole lot of rights. Some of them you'll never get back, especially when you're convicted of a felony. Not a misdemeanor so much. Those aren't great either, but definitely a felony. You lose a lot of crimes forever. Some of them you'll never get back. And you can also be subject to work. Look at the chain gangs down in Louisiana and Parchment. They can do that because those individuals was convicted of a crime. Put them out there to hoeing cabbage or whatever they're growing down there in swamps and fields in Louisiana. They do it in other places around the country too because they have been legally made into slaves. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. If you doubt me, go back and read the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution. So what's to say if you was convicted of a crime, you couldn't be farmed out by the United States government to, say, Canada or Mexico or to another country for hard labor? Yeah, things have a way of taking on a life of their own once the infrastructure is in place and the people and the guards and all this. They need a way to justify their existence. So they building all these prisons. They have every intentions of using them.
$38 billion for these
38 billion
centers. That's not tightening the border. That's building an
containment camps for his own citizens who he disagrees with.
And the reason I'm
and as ICE agents who are jackbooted thugs,
the deporter in chief.
Let's call them what they are, borderline neo, you know what.
$2 billion a year on detention. That's his average. Some years he spent less, 1.67 billion. Some years he spent slightly over 2 billion, but about 2 billion a year. That still exists. Okay? That didn't just disappear. Those facilities didn't disappear.
No, they're still there. They're still operating, and Trump is adding to them by the bushel.
That's still there. So Donald Trump wants to add and go far beyond.
He doesn't want to add. He is adding
more bodies, more time behind bars. So ask yourself, who needs that much capacity? What is that really for? And what are they going to do once they have it? And the reason this is concerning to me, as I'm a bit of a history buff, as you may well be, big, massive detention systems never stay narrow. We're told, don't worry, just for the bad guys, just for the criminals, just for people that don't belong here. But history tells us that that's a lie.
That's a lie. Turns into a whole lot more than that. And for you folks that's never been in a federal courtroom, maybe you had a case and it was a state case, but if they charge you on a federal level and take you to a federal courtroom, unless you got a whole bunch of co-defendants and nobody's cooperating on nobody else, they're going to open a courtroom up just for you. And it's going to be the United States of America versus you. Oh, yeah. Okay. And that federal judge, he's going to go out of his way to do everything that they can do to assist the prosecutor and win it. Most of them were former prosecutors. That's like saying, you're going to play for the New York Yankees or a football team or whatever, team you play for. And you're one of the most loyal fans and players that ever played for that team. And then all of a sudden, you become an umpire, or a referee, and, you can't understand why this guy calls the other team for every little thing they do, but the New York Yankees or whatever team, they don't get called for none of their violations. Okay. So, that's what happens in the federal courts all the time. I did 10 years in the feds. I know exactly how they operate. I got indicted 2 times in the feds. One time for some bank robberies in 2012 I committed in New York City. And then one time for escaping from a federal halfway house. And then one time they violated my probation for smoking doctor-prescribed state legal medical marijuana. All right? I wasn't doing anything illegal in the state that I live in. Okay? In total compliance with the law. Feds, I was on federal probation. I suffer from PTSD. It's the only thing that helps. I don't need a cup of pills, man. Marijuana is a natural alternative. And you got CBDs. You got all kind of things that are in the marijuana hemp family, the cannabis family, that helped me tremendously. The federal government gave me a year and a day in jail for that and then terminated my probation. So it's like, why didn't you just let me go? Okay? If you terminated my probation, I'm not a danger to society, because a federal judge could just start your probation over again if you violate, if you're on federal, because in the federal system, they did away with parole. All right? So you do 85%, potentially less if you have certain crimes and you take a lot of programs, but that only applies to 25 or 30% of the federal inmates, federal prisoners. The other 60% or so, you got to do 85% of your sentence. So you do 85% of 10 years, which is 8 years, 6 months. Then you might get 6 months halfway house. So you end up doing like 9 years. So while you're in the halfway house, you're not on probation yet. When you get out of the halfway house and you're allowed to, now you're officially on probation, then the 3 years starts. If you mess up 2 years into the 3 year term of probation, they can violate your probation, send you back to jail, and start your probation completely over, a whole new 3 years. They didn't do that to me because I didn't commit any crimes. I wasn't doing anything illegal. I was consuming medical marijuana in my home. But the feds didn't care. They came in, they violated my probation, sent me back to jail for a year and a day. I couldn't get any of my medication. They didn't care of my life. I mean, 10 months, you do 10 months on a year and a day if you don't lose any good time, which I didn't. I did 10 months. But that's just enough time for me to have lost my home, my car, my job, and potentially anything else that I had established in between me being released from prison and catching the violation. They didn't care. And I tell you, when they start charging you on the federal level and they're putting you in these federal camps and stuff, all these rights you think you got, you ain't got but like 2 or 3 rights in the federal criminal system, and those are real iffy, okay? And they don't play in 2 or 3 year numbers. They play in 30, 15, 20, 30, 40 year numbers, all right? So this is what's coming down the pike. If these globalist baby eaters get their way. I just did a episode this morning. I hope you checked it out on that whole cabal. And this guy, Trump, hey man, I had high hopes for the guy. I was never a gun-ho Trumper. I've explained that in prior videos. But, you know, I got fooled to a degree. Like I said, I didn't vote for him neither time. I was in jail both times. So I couldn't vote. But I tell you what, I'm on paper now, and I got my right to vote now, and I'll be voting in every election going forward. I got that right back. I'm going to take full advantage of it. And a lot of people don't realize something on a side note here. When a quote-unquote socialist communist won the mayorship of New York City, the big story in all the news media is, oh, he was a socialist, he's a communist, the sky's falling, the America's over as we know it. Well, I was in New York City while he was running, and I still got friends there now, and believe it or not, New York City hasn't fallen apart. It's doing better now than it's probably did in the last 40 years, all right? Very safe, clean city compared to what it used to be. So the city of New York is not falling apart. That's a bunch of BS. And the bigger story was that a Democrat or a Republican from the establishment did not win. That's the story. Cuomo and Curtis Lewa and these other people were running. They were all well financed by the machine, and none of them won. Just upstart won, because the people of New York is tired of the same old BS, bought and paid for politicians from the Democrats and the Republicans who can't get nothing done productive. War, no benefits, no health care, federal minimum wage, what, $7.25, $7.50 an hour? That's what they make in South Carolina. Lindsey Graham is your big hero, you know. You got no state health care, you make minimum wage, you keep voting the guy in office, so maybe that's what you deserve. Let's get back to it.
That's a lie that we tell ourselves so we can sleep at night. But when you build a large detention machine, 3 things always happen. 1, definitions expand. Definitions of what, you may ask?
Criminal behavior.
Criminal stops meaning violent offender.
Yeah, that's who the police need to be worried about.
It starts meaning any old conviction,
anything,
any minor offense.
You jaywalk, cops might have to beat the hell out of you and put you in jail.
Jaywalking.
Got a busted tail light, might have to get the hell beat out of you and go to jail.
Suddenly.
Let me ask you a question. When is the last time any of you guys saw in any of these police videos where people are getting beat up by the police that a limousine gets pulled over, the guy or the gal in the back of the limousine gets pulled out, gets beat up, and go to jail? When's the last? I haven't seen a video like that. I'm not saying one don't exist. I'm just saying I haven't seen it come across my home screen. No, I see a lot of working men and women who are not breaking any law, who have a driver's license, who aren't DUI'd, who aren't doing anything because they're not bootlickers. You know, they're American citizens in allegedly a free country. They do something that the cops don't like, and then they get the hell beat out of them and go to jail. That's what I've seen on these police watching videos. I ain't never seen, no big fancy limousine get pulled over and the driver get pulled out, and then the passenger, the owner of the limousine, person riding in the back gets pulled out, gets the hell beat out, gets tased, maced, stomped, and goes to jail. All right? So it seems to me the police know who to harass and who not to harass. Oh, this guy right here, he can't afford a top-notch attorney. He's a nobody. He's a worker bee. He's disposable. That's what it looks like to me. Maybe you see it different. Hit me up in the comments and let me know what you think.
Mother pulled over for a broken taillight, or a mother who missed a hearing, or a teenager with some minor charge becomes a criminal alien fit for a cell. And 2 mistakes multiply. We already have documented cases of U.S. citizens detained by ICE because of supposedly bad data. We don't believe that.
We don't believe it.
Confusion.
We don't
believe that.
How you put somebody in a cell without making sure that's the guy who needs to be in the cell?
We do.
People are trash. They're enemies of the state.
Faster the system runs, the more innocent people get caught up in it and chewed up.
That's right.
In a mass roundup, no one at the door is checking for nuance. They're checking boxes.
I remember back in the day when Giuliani was in office as the mayor, anything that was considered a bad neighborhood, you got to be mindful about something about New York City. There's no neighborhood that's really all bad or all good. There's no like neighborhood that's 100% upper class or 100% lower class. Some neighborhoods are more upper class, but because of the streets of New York, you got all kind of people walking down the streets of New York, even people who don't live in those neighborhoods. And back in the day, Giuliani and the NYPD, you know, they would do what they call sweeps, and they would just stand at the end of the block and pat everybody down, no matter if you was committing a crime or not. Just run up on you, pat you down, go in your pockets, put a case on you if they found anything, even though they had no right to search like that. And all kind of innocent people got caught up in all kind of stuff that had nothing to do with, because Giuliani was just doing sweeps, and anybody who happened to walk down that street, they'd round you up if they busted you with a joint, anything in your pocket. You're not smoking a joint walking down the street. It's legal now, but back then it wasn't. You can just have a joint in your cigarette pack. They can legally run up on you, pat you down, stop and frisk. They found that joint, they could take you to jail. Now, a lot of America, small town America, hasn't experienced that yet. Cops just pulling you over, searching you illegally, you walking down the street, beat you up, find a joint, and take you to jail. This is what Trump wants to do. Now, who knows if he would ultimately be successful and how far it would go. But that's his intention. Anybody he don't like, he'll just label you Antifa, which is not even like, they don't have a headquarters. You know, that's more of a philosophy than it is an organization. How do you just name somebody Antifa and then all of a sudden they're a domestic tourist? That's like saying you should be put in jail for your political beliefs. I mean, you do probably, if you're a good old boy, you probably own a pickup truck and a rifle, right? And you got political beliefs. Well, you know, hey, maybe if the right and a different party gets in there, they'll deem you a big tourist and come after you and put you in these camps. You know, things have a way of, like old boy said here, expanding and growing, and definitions expanding.
Number 3, targets shift with politics. After 9/11, Muslim, South Asian men were swept.
Yep. They all got targeted. Most of them wasn't up to nothing.
Pretext.
Hysteria.
Crackdowns on protest.
Old American people let themselves get whipped up into all the time.
Have used every possible tool. Parole violations, minor infractions, immigration status, anything to remove so-called troublemakers from our streets.
That's right. They tried to destroy my life, man. They're smoking legal medical marijuana in Florida. Florida didn't lock me up. Florida had no problem with me. I paid my taxes. I went and seen the doctor. I did everything right.
Starts out as
the Fed swooped in, even though I hadn't broken any terms of my probation. Model probationary. They swooped in, locked me up, violated my probation, gave me a year and a day. 10 months would have been enough time. If I didn't have a loving family and a beautiful wife to stick by me, would have been enough time for me to lose everything that I had and came out of prison with nothing. And who knows what could have happened then. They didn't care about me or society or you.
When you hand someone like Donald Trump a giant detention machine,
you don't think he's going to use it?
Just trusting
and then pass it on to the next administration who might be Democrats, who might not like the Republicans.
You're trusting his character.
And look, I'm not convinced that the good old boys are going to do too much and nothing. I've seen too many of these good old boys get pulled over, be in the passenger seat of their pickup truck or whatever, and get pulled out of the pickup truck unjustly, get the hell beat out of them, or get their wife gets tased or beat or something. They got a weapon. They could say they were defending their life. I don't see them doing nothing, all right, except getting the hell beat out of them. Well, I couldn't do that. I'd be a daggone criminal. You're right. You would be a criminal, all right? You'd be a doggone criminal, all right? And then you'd lose that right to have that firearm, all right? And you'd be just like me, all right? A criminal, convicted con, all right? So if the police pull you over and decide to beat the living crap out of you, or just be a bill collector for the street, a road pirate, pulling people over for 5 miles over the limit, charging them $100 or whatever kind of other road piracy stuff they do, collecting bill collectors for the state, you better submit to that, okay? You don't want to be no criminal, all right? Be a con, a convict. You won't be able to have no legal rifles in the end, boy. All right? You better toe the line. All right? I'm not convinced you're going to do jack, but I'll just run off at the mouth. Okay? I done put a massive amounts of work in. I did 25 years in prison. All right? I didn't see you in jail not one of them days. All right? You can have all the firearms and pickup trucks you want. Okay? If you ain't willing to do nothing about unjust government. And, my whole take on, and this is not about like or dislike, but if you're a law enforcement officer and you're out there enforcing laws that you know are no good, what does that make you? No good. Okay? When you sign up as a law enforcement officer, you don't sign up as a protect and serve officer. That's not your title. That's not what you do. You may do that occasionally or as a byproduct. Good for you. Big pat on the back. But your job is law enforcement. It's not up to you to determine whether if a law is good or bad or right or wrong. Yeah, you have discretion on low-level violations and misdemeanors. But any felony offense that occurs, you're obligated to arrest the person. It doesn't matter if you think the law is great or horrible. That's your job. That's your law enforcement. So if you're out there enforcing bad laws, you're doing things to your fellow citizen you wouldn't want someone to do to you because you know it's unjust and unfair. And if you're still doing it, what does that make you? If you're enforcing no good laws, what does that make you? In my opinion, it makes you no good. Now, I'm not saying, every law enforcement officer is up to no good, but the reason why a lot of people say there's no good cops is that when a cop is beating somebody in handcuffs, other cops will stand around and watch or help them. When a person is obviously subdued and doesn't need 10 people standing on his neck to subdue him. All right? So that's the reason why a lot of people say there is no good cops. Because you know damn well you'd arrest anybody else if you saw them doing that. But you don't arrest your fellow officer. You turn a blind eye to it and let it happen. Not interested. Especially when I'm filming. I was on a roll. But let's get back to what this guy's got to say.
With power to cage and imprison hundreds of thousands of people. He has already called his political opponents vermin, enemies, poison. So one can only
He's got a jackbooted force of thugs on ice. He pulled back for the time being. They can come back into action and read the midterms if things ain't looking good for him.
This rush to build out these massive detention facilities and buy these huge warehouses
because they're going to use them.
Detain
on you.
Supposedly illegal aliens.
There ain't that many illegal aliens left in the country.
That's not about safety. That's about power. Supporters will say, we just need to.
They ain't got rounded up a whole bunch of them that left on their own.
But what does...
Sure, you still got some, but not tens of thousands of them.
$38 billion in detention really buy you? if we're being honest.
It buys you a
It
sale.
doesn't fix the asylum system. It doesn't fix legal immigration backlogs. Doesn't address the root
No, it's
causes
being built
that
for you, man.
caused people to come here in the
Being
first
built
place.
for him, for me.
What it does is it
That's what it's being
creates
built for.
huge, massive contracts for
I'm
private
a
prison
law-abiding
companies.
citizen. I'll put my life
and
back together in
detention
spite of the federal
contractors.
government. And I didn't ask her for one penny. No welfare, no food
normalizes
stamps,
the
no
idea
nothing. I did it on my
that
own. Me and
mass
my wife did it on our
incarceration
own.
is a reasonable
And they
response
still tried to
to
destroy it.
social or political problems.
And I got out and did it again even better on my own. I haven't taken
And
one penny
it's-
from them.
Gives the federal government a sort of standing army of agents.
Indeed it does,
Maybe
homie.
filled into camps. You don't spend tens of billions of dollars on detention infrastructure because you're planning to use it sparingly.
Nah.
You build it because you intend to run it. And this is the part that's a little sketchy. Let's talk about what that looks like on the ground. Not in theory, but in small towns and neighborhoods like yours and mine. A child comes home from school and a parent is just gone. Just gone. And not coming back. No word. Or a workplace raids, half the breadwinners in a town in a single day. People vanish into these faraway detention centers with no lawyer, no money, no representation, no idea when or if they're going to get out. So what happens in these small towns and communities? People just stop going to school events, clinics, things that are going on around the city meetings, because they're afraid. Witnesses.
I tell you what, the episode I did prior to this one was episode concerning, what's going on right now with Donald Trump and this whole cabal of baby eaters. And I think this country, man, is in for a rude awakening. I think when they run down on Iran, and they are, I think the United States military is going to get a bloody nose and a black eye. And I think when that happens, they're going to be compelled. They're going to feel compelled. Donald Trump's ego's too big. He's going to feel compelled to send troops into Iran. And when he does that, they're hit. All right? Because you're going to have to send more in to rescue them and more in to rescue them. And pretty soon you're going to have 20 or 30,000 soldiers potentially in Iran. And they're not going to be able to get them out, and they're going to be surrounded. All right? If you look at the terrain of Iran, he's going to end his presidency. And when people get out of work and the economy crashes and a lot of upheaval and a lot of things going on in the country, he's going to send his ice goons back out and start arresting people. But see, by then, there is a hope that the American people will be hungry enough. Okay, because if they invade Iran, your gas prices are going to go to, $8 or $10 or $12 a gallon. So the economy is going to be destroyed. Your livelihood is going to be destroyed. So at that point, I guess there is a possibility, perhaps, that the American people could be hungry enough and mad enough to get really ticked off about it. And if all these soldiers and everything are engaged overseas with Iran, and America's getting at least a bloody end of the stick, because I know one thing, I ain't going to Iran. Iran ain't never did nothing to me, and I'm not going to encourage anyone to go to Iran for cream puffed Lindsey Graham. Okay? And I tell you what, the Congress and the Senate And yes, even Mr. President himself, he's got a whole house full of sons and fighting age daughters. Hey, if he wants to go to war, I say you start with your own family, enlist them in the army or whatever you think you need to do, and encourage your other fellow congressmen and senators to do it. And we can put all them right there on the front line fighting Iran. Okay, because if you wait for me to go do it, buddy boy, it ain't never going to happen. All right? I got nothing against Iran. Iran never attacked my country, and I'm not going over there and attacking theirs. Now, if you want to do it, hey, going down to the recruitment station, I'm sure they can find a spot on the transport ship or the transport plane for you. Hi, you know what I mean? But just ain't my cup of tea, especially for Donald Trump and Lindsey Graham doing the bidding of a foreign country. I'm not interested.
Don't report crimes because any contact with law enforcement could mean detention. Whole communities are pushed into the shadows.
It's a bad plan, man.
When fear rules communities, participation in those communities dies. Fewer people vote, fewer people speak out, fewer people challenge abuse. A massive detention state doesn't just lock up bodies.
We already have a massive detention state.
It silences voices.
I tell you what, man, when they start locking you up, you know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to do for you the same thing you did for me when I was in prison. Okay, you didn't send me a stamp, no envelope, no money so I could call my family. I'm going to return the favor to you, Mr. Law and Order, Mr. Gun Ho, okay? Okay, when the Democrats get power and they come for you, all right? I'm going to do the same thing for you that you did for me when I was in jail or in detention or whatever. And don't think for 1 minute they couldn't expand those laws and make your political beliefs and make you into a radical and sell it in the media. And next thing you know, your life is ruined and you're sitting in a prison cell for 30 or 40 years. And then federal judges, they'll go out of their way to do anything they could possibly do to help the government win. You can believe that. That's why so many people cop out in the feds. Because if you go to trial and you get found guilty, the federal judge is pretty much going to give you either the max or close to the max. All right? Every once in a while, you might get a break, but not usually. Now, if you plead guilty, you might get 10, 12, 15 years. You know, something you can work with. Okay? But that's my message to you. I'm gonna cry for you just as much as you cried for me. Remember when I know all you redneck old boys, oh, he's a daggone old criminal anyway. The heck with him. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to say back to you, all right? So that's just the way it's got to be. Let's see what this guy's got to say.
And it sends a message to anyone watching.
Amen, hallelujah. It sends a message to anybody watching. Look, man, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I ain't going to talk your ear off no more. I'd appreciate it if you think about going, liking and subscribing to the channel, liking the video, getting it up and running a little bit, you know. Thanks again for your viewing pleasure. Stay up. Peace.